Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Butterfly Effect podcast. I'm your host Jack. I'm here with Liam and Anya.
Bonjour.
And oh shit, I just spoke.
Don't even let us say hi.
Rewind. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Butterfly Effect podcast. I'm your host Jack. I'm here with Liam and Anya.
Hello.
Hi.
And today we are talking about Life is Strange, episode 2 out of 10. And you know what? Before we actually get into the details of this episode, it does come up previous episode in Life is Strange. Now, when I played this game, I played it like all the way through. But did Life is Strange episodes come out like Telltales, where like one episode would come out and then another one would come out a couple of months later, or did they all come out at once and then it's just it's just a friendly reminder as to what happened in the previous one? Do either of you know?
It came out like after months, right?
Yeah. So like it would take you about a year to get through it. So when you'd wait, it was epic because you'd have to wait 3 months, and then that recap was actually a really nice feature just to kind of like recap you on what choices you made, and it really teed up the episode. It was a really neat feature actually.
And don't the end of them like give like a little teaser about what's gonna happen next?
Yeah, they
Like,
do
like,
actually.
Yeah.
So then you have to like sit there and wait and be like, oh shit, I gotta know.
Yeah, so for this one, I was there for months waiting, like, oh no, is Chloe going to get run over by a train? What's happening?
I was sick because honestly, like, I don't know, I just thought that was a Telltale thing. Like, I had no idea that they did that for this game as well. But no, that's good to know. But obviously, the episode starts, you wake up as Max, you can listen to music, you can check your social media, you can water your plant like we all do every morning. And I think what I've got written down here is that you have to go and speak to Kate or something, or like when you go up before you go get showered. So obviously, like, take the floor, guys. Like, what do you make of this whole section when you're in the dorms chatting to Kate, and obviously you overhear the conversations in the shower as well?
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, everything from waking up to Jose Gonzalez in the morning, always a good way to start. And then, you go, like, Kate wants, like, her book. I think it's the Orange County. And then you go in the shower, and then, I did that thing where I turned the water on because I remember it freezes someone in the shower. So I was like, that's a fun thing to do. So I did that. And then, obviously you do that thing, don't you, where you go for a shower, and then, like, Victoria, and I think it's her friend Taylor, probably, are like bitching about Kate in this video, and this whole episode is really going to be about Kate, isn't it? And then you're learning a bit more about how she went to some Vortex party and she made out with a bunch of dudes. So like, I think the first kind of minor choice really is that they leave a link on the mirror, and it's just about whether you erase that. And I'm sure we all did. And I think this whole thing made me feel for Kate more, and my hatred for Victoria was fueled even more, to the point I almost regretted not pissing her off in the last episode, because I'm just like, that is just such a shitty thing to do.
They do definitely a good job getting right out the gate, like, Victoria fucking sucks, and Kate deserves way better than what she's getting. So like I said last time, like from the start, I kind of had my eye on Kate, like, there's something about you that I resonate with, and I just kind of wanted to help her wherever I could. So like, erasing the link and just being generally nice to her, because that's what she needs.
Yeah, unless you've got something wrong with you, it's incredibly easy to side with Kate in the early stages, or actually throughout the whole series, to be honest, because it really is that thing where the bully's picking on someone who they feel, isn't strong enough to stand up to themselves. She obviously has the same sort of opinion for Max as well. Anyone that infringes on them, similar to Nathan, they'll try and use their position and whatever in Blackwell. Obviously with Victoria, she's got her cronies round her as well, just like follow her around like sheep. So like I did the same. I wiped the link away as well on the mirror. And obviously when you do go back to speak to Kate, she asks you, don't she, like whether she should contact the police or whether she should wait. Now, what I've got here is that I told Kate to wait for more proof. Again, I suppose in terms of the story way, I was thinking that I really wanted you to believe that this Nathan was like heavily involved. He's the bad guy. And I was thinking maybe there's a potential twist, or maybe he's under someone else's command or whatever. So I was like, you know what? Especially because the police might be wrapped up with the Prescotts as well. I was like, you know what? Let's get proof first. What did you guys think on that?
Yeah, I was like, we need more evidence. Because then I thought back to like the when you could take a photo of like David harassing Kate, and when I didn't do that, I was like, wait, shit, that might have been helpful. So it's good to have something. And at this point, we had nothing. So
it seems like all the choices with Kate here help her in the short term or help her in the long term. And I kind of went the opposite from what I did last time. In this one, I decided to, do what you did and tell her to wait for more proof, because the police are probably going to do jack shit. And like you mentioned, we just don't have the evidence. So I thought, let's do some further detective work, and then we can help her then. Not the answer she wanted to hear, but probably the answer she needed to hear. One thing I wanted to mention, though, as well, is just I really like the fact that they kind of like paint Kate's depression up with her room really well. The fact that she doesn't have any lights, her blinds are shut, she's got like drape over her mirror. That it's just a really dark, miserable room, and you have the music to back it, and then you can just snoop around the room and look at stuff about how her family and her like church reverend are disappointed for her. And every time I had an interaction with Kate, I just felt for her more and more. And I don't know, it actually kind of struck me emotionally, I'm not gonna lie.
That's so true. It's so true. It feels like everyone's absolutely against her, doesn't it? Like even her own family at this point, they're not listening to her. So 100% agreed. I mean, we obviously then move on, don't we? And we see Samuel giving the creeps again. At least he does. He's sat there. I think he's like feeding pigeons or something. But I think this scene is almost a little bit of downtime. You can go and talk to Taylor, and she just proves how like she's like one of Victoria's little sheep, really. Because like as soon as it's like a one-on-one interaction, like she's not as harsh. Like she's like a little bit more soft. I think I actually did use like a go back in time feature here where she mentions her mum, so I rewound time and then mentioned her mum, because I was thinking, you know what, if I can get her at least somewhat sympathetic to me, she's part of Victoria's crew, that can only like benefit me in the long run. And then of course that we see Warren as well, and I think one of the minor choices that I agreed to go to some sort of film with him.
yeah, we don't need to talk about Warren.
I just want to say I rejected him here because I was like, I've got a lot going on my plate. And one thing that I actually think people overlook is that one trait I don't like about Warren is that throughout this episode he'll be texting you things, and he almost kind of has that sense of, oh, you owe me, thus I should take you to the movies. And I just think that's actually quite toxic, and I don't think enough people talk about that.
That's why he gives me the ick. He's just like one of those guys, it's just like, oh, I'm so nice to you and you owe me, and like, you should totally go on a date with me. Like, go away. Just be my friend.
There's a potential video waiting to happen, I feel. Is Warren toxic?
Yeah.
I mean, of course, she then takes the bus because the whole objective is to go and meet Chloe at this diner, isn't it? And I mean, I really did like this scene. You have some interactions with her mum, in terms of how Chloe's been, how she's changed. Again, it sort of like builds Chloe's backstory up nicely. But I don't know about you guys, but like there's like one choice here that was like incredibly crucial to this game. What did you have to eat? Was it the bacon omelette or was it the Belgian waffle?
Waffles.
Oh, it's got to be waffles. I'm not a big fan of egg, so it was always being waffles there.
Oh.
I'm not a big fan of bacon, so.
Oh, well, I'll pick the bacon omelette, so we'll move on from that. But yeah, obviously that the main thing of this scene, it's like Max trying to prove to Chloe that she can rewind time. Absolutely loved it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I fucked it up a lot. Like, my observation skills were like shown in their absolute horror here, because I actually had to rewind it multiple times. The first bit, you know, like the bits in her pocket, that was fine. You know, when you've got that sequence bit where she's walking out and, you know, you've got to like remember certain things that happen in that segment. If anyone got that right first time, then fair play to them, because I did not see the cockroach walking onto the jukebox at the very end. Like, I just completely guessed that bit. But what did you guys think about this whole scene? Like, the use of the back in time, the characters?
Yeah, I think I fucked up on my blind playthrough as well. Funny enough, I replayed it recently and I got it all first time, just because like I think my memory is just really good, because this game just meant a lot to me, and I knew to look behind me, look at the cockroach. One thing I want to say as well, I just really like the interactions between Joyce and Chloe not having changed, recapping on the childhood a lot. And I don't know, like, I just weirdly think it's awesome seeing how giddy is that Chloe believes you in your power, and she's just there like, yeah, we're going to rule the world. And it's just quite cool to see them rekindle their friendship with a superpower involved. And I just think that, like, Chloe's excitement is just really, like, awesome to see. I don't know. About you, Anya?
She's so hyped about it. She's a big hype man.
Yeah, literally.
But yeah, and it's really fun to like prove it to her too. They're just like, oh, in 30 seconds, this will happen. And then she's just like, holy shit.
I love the way where her brain went as well. Like, she finds out that her best friend's got like a reverse time power. The first thing she says is, oh my god, you could bang anyone you want and then reverse time. I just like
priorities.
It's such a great bit of writing and characterization there. But there's a choice that comes up at the end of this, isn't there? When you're about to leave, the phone rings, and it's quite clear that it's Kate who's ringing Max. You have a choice. You can either take the call, or you can ignore it and go off with Chloe. What did you both do? Starting with you, Anya.
I took the call, and this is one of those moments where I was kind of not that happy with Chloe, because she was just like, who the fuck is that? You're talking to somebody else? Just like, girl, I can have other friends, and this one needs me, so please relax. We're hanging out like all the time now. But yeah, I took the call because I knew that Kate is not in a state where she should just be ignored like that, so... And if she's calling, it's probably important or something's happening, so...
I completely agree. I did the same thing, and I think this is probably where Chloe's at her worst. I'm like, you shouldn't be made to feel bad because you're answering someone who clearly has depression, who's going through a torrid time. I think even on my blind playthrough, like, it's clearly the right option, but even on my blind playthrough, I did the same. I was like, yeah, she clearly needs me. Like Anya said, if she's calling, it's a big deal. So yeah, it's just a bit hurtful just to see Chloe bringing up the abandonment, and then you're just like, oh, don't say that, don't make me feel bad for doing this, man.
Guilt tripping. Chloe's toxic too. They're all toxic.
Literally,
it's gonna point this out. Like, is Warren and Chloe toxic? But yeah, no, honestly, I did the exact same as you guys, and it really does paint her in, you know, in a very possessive light. You know, you've got your own life. She seems like she's too... I mean, I know that she feels like she got abandoned from Max, but like, it's almost like she's expecting Max to drop everything, you know, and then just like go off with her and do her own thing. She's got her own life, like she's got to... Yeah, I don't know, it was one of Chloe's weaker moments. I don't know if that's a particular scene where people cling to in terms of dogging on her. We then head to another location, Scrapyard. I think this, for me, like, because obviously I played this 5 years ago, this was like one of the memorable locations for me. Don't know why, but for some reason it seems to stick out. Maybe I'll find that out when I play the rest of the game. But I really liked the downtime here. But I've got to say, like, you know, one of the first things you do is you've got to look for 5 bottles. My God, that took me an absolute age. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah. I struggle a bit trying to find things, and I was getting frustrated. I was so tempted to just like look up, like, all right, get this over with.
I got 4 out of 5 pretty swiftly, and I couldn't find the one that's tucked away by that little fire, by the little shack bit.
Yes.
And I feel like such an idiot, because Max, like, on 3 occasions said out loud, oh, I swear there's a spot around here with a campfire. And I just took that in stride. And then, like, it was until she said it 3 or 4 times that I was like, oh, maybe there's a bottle there and I should go to where that smoke's coming from. And then I found it. But one thing I want to mention, though, is that I absolutely love this location. Like, it's just so Chloe, isn't it? Somewhere really rugged and broken. And you can see, like, Chloe going here quite a lot. Maybe just to chill with a joint, to get away from, like, you know, her stepdad, you know, in that house that's quite cooped up. So she probably gets away here a lot. And there's that little shack bit where clearly her and Rachel used to hang out there. And you can kind of, like, you know, graffiti it and learn more about the Chloe and Rachel friendship. And yeah, like you say, it's a bit of downtime, and I think I spent quite a while here. I just really liked soaking in this atmosphere. I took all the optional photos here. Yeah, I just thought it was a really neat location, and I think I enjoyed just wandering around and mellowing in it more than I did with the actual gun sequence that comes later on.
Yeah, that's why like it kind of wasn't so bad for me to get stuck on it, because it's like got to spend more time here, and just like I think junkyards are cool, so it was just fun seeing all like the garbage and scrap and shit laying around. And like, yeah, it is very Chloe.
I think as well, like, you know, as kids here, before you could go into bars at the age of 18, like, we had a few spots like that in our town, and I know we had like this abandoned train yard, and we used to just hang out in our train carriages, and it felt very reminiscent of that. So yeah, another sentimental chord for me.
Yeah, just like places nobody else will go.
Exactly.
So just like your own little space.
Yeah, it does give off that vibe. I've got to say, I very nearly reached for my phone for that last damn bottle. Because, and it's funny enough what you said, mate, that's what saved me. Was the thing when she said, oh yeah, I swear that there's like a bonfire around here, or a campfire. And it was sheer luck that I happened to be walking around the back of the scrapyard, and I saw like a little crevice or a little sort of bit where you can walk in. I was like, oh, thank God, because like my right hand was just like hovering over the phone. So I was thinking, this is taking far too long. Like I've been round the whole edge. There's even moments where you could start to walk off, and then Max says, I probably shouldn't leave here yet, and then she turns around and like, you know, stays in the location. But a lot of like fun things to do here as well, because you get to use the rewinding time again, because obviously once you stack the bottles, Chloe goes to shoot, and obviously when she misses, you can then tell her to, you know, oh, you need to aim up or aim a bit to the right, a bit to the left, and so on. But another thing as well is that the fact that you can actually get Chloe shot in this bit as well. I don't know if this happened to you, but you aim at a car, don't you? I think it's the bumper. So my thinking was, oh, if I shoot the bumper, it might come loose and then knock the bottles, but bullet just like ricocheted and then went into Chloe. Did you guys have that?
Jesus, no. I didn't even know.
Yeah, I certainly did on my blind playthrough. Like when I replayed it again, I knew everything I needed to do, but I definitely got Chloe shot, and then you have to rewind time to go back to normal, because you're supposed to hit the tire, aren't you? And then her final trick shot is that the car flips and then lands on the final bottles, which is what she wanted to achieve. But yeah, if you hit like the bumper, it just ricochets about and just gets Chloe, like, yeah, and then she just dies. I'm pretty sure she gets really hurt. But yeah, I really like that as well, and I think it sums up Chloe perfectly. She's clearly waving David's gun around, and she's just playing with it. It's like, yeah, Chloe, we need to chill out. And I was very much with Max on this one. Like, I don't feel comfortable playing about with a gun here.
Yeah. I think there's another thing where you can actually blow up the car as well. Like I think it was like the third thing where I actually got it right. I think that my first thing was like shoot at the gas or something, and then it blew up the car, and then I shot at the bumper, and then that got her killed, and then it was ultimately after shooting the tyre that it then sort of knocked all the bottles down. But yeah, again, a nice different way, you know, just a quick tangent, you know, when we go to like supermassive games, talking about sort of like innovating different ways, different types of gameplay. This is just like a great way of doing that. Obviously you've got the rewind time thing, but you know, it mixes things up a little bit. There's different ways how they're using this rewind time, and I don't know, it wasn't boring to me at this point. You know, it still felt relatively fresh when I was playing it. I mean, yeah, obviously we then have another character enter the fold. That's some sort of drug dealer. I can't remember his name, if he did have a name or whatever.
Frank?
That's it, Mr. Frank.
That's it, yeah. And Obviously it blows up into this row between Chloe and Frank. She owes him a lot of money, and Max is there holding the gun. You have a choice. You can either shoot or don't shoot. What did you both do?
I didn't shoot. I just felt like, I feel like if we shoot the guy and it does kill him, it's just gonna look really bad. It's gonna be worse blood. And I kind of was a bit like, I don't think we should be with this gun anyway, so I'm actually just gonna, not do that. One thing as well, I just want to quickly say as well, obviously, Chloe blows up at Frank because Frank is carrying Rachel's bracelet, and I just was so intrigued how this Frank guy with this RV was somehow linked to this Rachel story. And yeah, it just really got the mystery rolling from this little interaction, so I just really appreciated that. It just felt like there were no... I mean, there are filler scenes, but for the best, but this was just another little scene which just actually added to the story a lot, even by doing very little. So I just really liked that.
What did I do? I think initially I went to go to shoot him because like he was pulling a knife on Chloe, and we've already seen that Chloe is a bit of a magnet for death, since the first scene, or one of the first scenes, is like Nathan pulling the gun on her and killing her. And I was just like, I can't do this anymore. Stop trying to kill her. But I was like, worst case scenario, if like I kill this dude, then I can just go back and it'll be fine, you know? But yeah, and like the gun is empty anyway, so he's just like, that's funny.
I think that's another thing as well, because Chloe dies a lot, and a lot of the stuff you do is about saving her, whether it's, like the bumper, whether it's later on with a train track, whether it's Frank pulling a gun, Nathan killing her. But yeah, I thought it was really... The foreshadowing was really incredible about how like Chloe keeps dying, and I thought it was really well done in parallel with the blue bird you can keep saving throughout the game. So like we had it earlier at Chloe's house, and then I think it happens quite a few times later on, but you keep having to save this blue bird the same way you keep having to save your best friend with blue hair as well. And I don't know, I just really like this whole saving Chloe from death and how that eventually leaks into like the conclusion of the game. I just thought it was very well threaded throughout like the main episodes.
Yes, that makes sense. The blue hair and the blue bird. Yeah.
It's just such epic storytelling. I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah, I didn't shoot as well. I actually wish that I did pick shoot just to see what would happen, but since Anya said that the gun isn't loaded anyway, it seems like a little bit of a nothing choice, doesn't it?
And it impresses Chloe. She's like, okay, all right, didn't know you had it in you.
Because for me and Jack, she would have given us shit, like, oh, you gave him my gun, and it's like, well, A, it isn't your gun, and B, did you just expect me to shoot him? Like, wow, Chloe.
But yeah, obviously we then move on, don't we, with this scene where Chloe and Max start to walk along the railway tracks, and I don't know, it's sort of, I wouldn't call it a filler scene. There's just a lot of like cinematic sequences here, isn't there, where they're just talking to one another, and it ultimately leads to this scene where Chloe somehow gets stuck, and sort of the nitpicking personality in me is sort of sat there thinking, why would you sort of tuck your foot in such a way that, I mean, A, why would you sit on the track anyway, but like B, why would you tuck your foot in such a way so that you could potentially get stuck? I don't know, but it brings about this scene. And Anya, you said about her dying multiple times. Oh my god, she died multiple times for me in a bit, because I was wandering around and I couldn't remember from the blind playthrough like what you had to do. I went to the lever, tried pulling it, that didn't work. Went to the box, opened it up, and it said that you needed pliers or something like that. But you needed the pliers, and I was wandering around. I was like, where the hell are these bloody pliers? And I didn't know that you could like walk up the slope to like this little out shack where everything, and even then you gotta like get the crowbar. So like the number of times where I was rewinding, I was just hearing Chloe like, Max, help me, and it would like cut to like black and white, and it's just like the train like about to hit Chloe. I was thinking, god damn, like this poor girl, like she's just going through it all the time. But obviously, yeah, you ultimately get the pliers and you get down. Like there was even one time I think I cut. There was like a green, yellow, and red wire, And green usually means good, doesn't it? You know, you don't want to cut the red wire. So I was like, you know what, I'll cut the green wire. It meant jack shit, and then the train come along and went to hit her again. So, but it ended up being the red wire, and obviously you save her. And he's like, oh my god, you saved me. And I'm sat there thinking, you know, not only after dying like 6 or 7 times, but...
She doesn't need to know that.
She doesn't need to, yeah, exactly. She doesn't need to know that. But, like, yeah, have you guys got any sort of comments on this particular scene?
It really puts the pressure on you, that's for sure. Because it's like, yeah, she's just like yelling in the background, and you're just going back and back and trying to figure out the right things, and it stressed me out. But I got it. So we're good.
I absolutely love this whole train sequence. Like, even when they're, you know, sort of like holding hands walking on the train track, that's one of the most memorable scenes for me. When I think Life is Strange, I just think about that train track walk. And even everything from before, like the little dialogue about how Chloe says that they would have been great, like free, and they will be, and there's that little optimism that they'll find Rachel, and it makes you want to find Rachel even more, just because you know how much she means to Chloe. But when we get to the train puzzle, yeah, I mean, when I replayed it, I did it first time because I knew what to do. One thing I really appreciate is the fact that there are multiple ways to do it. So I know you can go through the fuse box and cut the red wire. I actually went for the crowbar and removed the wedge where there's that big wheel thing that's there.
Oh, right, okay.
And if you do that, it kind of runs over the train tracks and then switches the direction. And then it kind of like, because like, I think Chloe's foot's stuck where like, you know, the tracks switch off. So like it kind of loosens and then she can like free her foot. And one cool thing about that is that it's probably the actual worst choice because, I mean, you know, in later episode, I think it's episode 3, you can later interact with this fisherman who is really pissed off because he's like, oh, someone tampered with like the train tracks and now I don't have my shipment here. So like you saving Chloe in this manner is actually fucked the workers' day up. It's like really interesting to see that such a choice like that can have a ripple effect. And I don't know, I like little intricacies like that. I just thought that was really well done.
Yeah, because they didn't have to nod to that at all, didn't they? But the fact that they took the time out, yeah, it just like goes to show the amount of detail and care that Tech9 have like put into this game. Yeah, it's really good stuff. I certainly didn't know that there was an alternative way to saving Chloe, so that's news to me as well. Of course, we then all end up back at Blackwell, and there's a little bit of time, isn't there? Max says it herself, that she's got a bit of time before her class, so you can wander around. I'm pretty sure that, I mean, and I purposely didn't, but I'm pretty sure that everyone that you could see in that environment, you could potentially speak to. And I was like, you know what? Just going to drag the playtime even longer, so that I purposely didn't. But I do vaguely remember like this whole science experiment thing, so I did actually go in and help Warren. It takes a couple of times, I think. You did that sodium and potassium, and then you ultimately go to Miss Grant, and it ends up like being chlorine or something. But yeah, like, did you have anything like in this sort of downtime moment? Did you have any sort of things that you wanted to mention, or should we get straight on to the class?
I mean, for myself, like, yeah, I thought as well, like, you know what, let's help Warren with his science experiment because I've rejected him twice at this point. I mean, a bit more guilt coming through. I was like, yeah. But also, it's just extra things to do, and it's nice that, you know, you have this, like, tense train track scene, and then you can slow the game down again and just do these little side puzzles. There's obviously that little section where, like, Nathan and Victoria are sat on your, like, table, and they're just bitching about you, and you can, like, literally look at them in the face. And they'll still carry on bitching about you even though you're right in front of them, and it's like, hello guys, are you really that stupid that you're just like constantly bitching about me? And to be honest, it makes me hate Victoria even more because obviously I was nice to her in the last episode, but she throws that right out the window and she's like, oh, she thought we could be friends, and it's like, wow, I do not like this girl whatsoever.
Yeah, like she's really not helping her cause. Like You'd hope at this point that she has like some sort of character arc. I still can't remember. Like I say, it was 5 years ago. Does she go on one? I'm really not sure. I'll just have to find out by the end of episode 5. But so unlikable, and so's Nathan as well. Are they boyfriend and girlfriend, or are they like brother and sister? Like, because I don't know why that's in my head, but are they one of the two? Or
I think they're just
both dickheads.
Yeah. dickheads bond together.
Pretty much, because I mean, when we get our outro shot at the end, you'll see that Victoria's like in absolute agony and pain. She regrets what she's done, and then Nathan comes to comfort her. So there's almost something there going on. But I think you do later learn that, you know, Victoria's like a pawn, a part of Nathan's grand thing. So it's almost like it's actually a bit of a secretly dark relationship where I think Victoria's kind of a little bit like a victim there.
Oh, sick! I'll have to find more out about that when I play it. But
Like, kind of just using her.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, okay. So obviously we then start this class, and you sat there and you can look around. But then Zach comes in, some crazy shit's going down. You know, Kate Marsh, she's on the rooftop, and I think this is potentially, at least from memory, got to be the darkest segment of the game. Beautifully done in a way, in terms of you walking outside. It's raining, so like the setting, and obviously it's been quite a Kate heavy chapter. You think of the phone call, the chat with her at the start. You know, you were saying, mate, about how you can go around her room. Her family are not necessarily with her. She's being bullied by Victoria, so like there's all of this stuff that's been fed in there. And it comes to this crescendo where she's going to potentially commit suicide. So she could jump off this rooftop. And of course, we're then able to rewind time again. And something I forgot to mention is that Max is starting to nosebleed. And I presume that this is to do with like her using her ability so much. But I remember when I was like first playing this game, I was like, oh, like, how does this tie in? Like, could she potentially die from like using this power too much? But we'll see in episode 5.
It's really well done as well by the fact that when you do the spiral, if you go too far back to the very end of the spiral, the screen's like covered in blood. And I think that's a really good little foreshadow, like, oh yeah, this power is actually dangerous on your own health as well if you use it too much. And I remember when I was rewinding time, I did my best to not go all the way back because I was like, oh, I don't want to hurt Max here. So I thought that was like a really cool feature as well. And then obviously, yeah, like you mentioned, it blows up, and to the point where we've passed out a few times already in this game from using the power too much. And then we get to this section, we've almost lost our ability to rewind power, and now our power's almost like evolved somewhat, and it transitions, and we've frozen time, but now we can't rewind it anymore. And I thought that was like pretty well done, actually.
It was, and obviously it builds up this particular scene very well. Now, I know we've talked about it before, and I did find the Bible quote in her room, but I'm just going to say it outright, I still managed to get her killed, which I didn't want, actually. When I was doing this dialogue with her, I felt like I was picking all the right options, and I was just waiting for this Bible quote to come up so that I would hit it and then she would come down. I think a question had come up, and it was like, oh, you know, who cares about me or something. It was like her mother, her father, her brother, her sister. And I generally hadn't paid attention to anything else because I was riding on that it was going to be this Bible quote that was going to save her. So I ended up just guessing. I think I picked her mother or something like that. And then she ended up just saying, we will see. And then she just like jumped off the edge. I was thinking, oh fuck, like I've managed to get her killed, like even though I thought, you know, had it in the bag to save her. So it was still a tragic end for me. What about you guys?
I did end up saving her, but I do want to just give a little shout out to this scene in general for just being the thing that really solidified my love for this series. It's just like, oh, this shit can get real and get dark, and it does a pretty good job of like leading up to this, like showing like the state of Kate's room and how everybody's been treating her, and even just like the little things, like if you've paid attention to things that like around her room, because like that's a big thing here. You have to like actually remember things and prove that you're a friend to her. But like the things like answering her call, or just like if you defend her, give her advice that she wants to hear, like it's all just things that lead up to this. And it stressed me out a lot to like be up there, and then like especially at the time of my life when I played this the first time, I was like, oh god, this might be a little too real for me. But it also felt really rewarding both for myself and just like as a player, like in the game, and like as the characters, to successfully talk her down from it and save her life. It just, I don't know, it's one of those scenes that still kind of stick with me very vividly to this day, even if I haven't touched the game in a hot minute. But like even thinking about it, like I get chills over the whole thing.
No, I completely agree. I think this game does such a good job of tackling different themes about people going through college or university. So you'll get things like, you know, Chloe's abandonment, Dana's abortion, bullying, neglect. And then obviously it tackles this theme of suicide and depression here. And yeah, obviously I don't want to dwell on it too much, but like that's a theme that's kind of like, you know, affected people, and not myself specifically, but people within my life. And it was just a really dark scene to play. And I remember when I finished it, I had to just pause and just decompress for half an hour, because it's such a hard hitting scene. And when the credits roll at the end, I had a massive breather. I was like, Jesus Christ, that was such a powerful scene. But yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, guys, like the choices you do throughout the game, how much attention we give Kate, the choices we do, the research we do in her room, it all affects this scene. And yeah, I managed to save her and I felt really happy about it. And I think on my second playthrough, it was rendered a lot easier by the fact all my choices were the right ones. So I actually didn't have to use the Bible quote. I think I only had to say a few things and then she stepped down from the building. But yeah, like it's like the research you do in the room, it's massive, and it makes you feel really rewarded if you do it. So yeah, obviously the right Bible quote. And then on her family, and I think, yeah, her parents scorn her and have a go at her. I might be wrong, it might just be the mother or something. But then I think the right option for which family member you pick, I think you're supposed to pick the sisters. I know that's what I certainly did. And she brings up her 10-year-old sister about how she's got the best smile. And then, yeah, she steps down, and it's just so, like, you just have a massive breather, like, that when you're able to do it. And it's actually quite a tough choice, because I've got the choice here with the stats at the end, and only 63% of players managed to do that. And I think a lot of that takes into account people who replayed it, so it probably is more around the 50% mark. So it is actually a really tough choice to do. So I mean, hats off if you've done it, but obviously, yeah, if you don't save Kate, you're not in the minority there. Like, quite a lot of people weren't able to save her either. It is a very difficult choice. But yeah, like Anya said, really hats off to the scene. I thought it was really excellently executed. And even just things like the soundtrack to back it up, the really somber piano, that's the same sort of somber piano that you hear back in her room. Yeah, this scene, probably one of the darkest and most impactful in Life is Strange history, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Oh, 100% agreed. I'd be interested to know then, like, what follows in both your gameplays then for saving her, because for me, I then had this scene with the principal, Jefferson's in there, Max is in there, Nathan. I think that's it. There might be someone else. It might be David, actually. And the principal gives an absolute bollocking, basically, you know, because obviously of, you know, what's just gone down. And I then had a choice in terms of like who I blamed, whether it was Jefferson, David, or Nathan. I ended up going with Nathan. I guess at this point I wasn't really like looking. I think I do know like what, you know, who is the big bad at the end of this game. So from my blind playthrough, I know I didn't pick Jefferson, and I just, like I said before, with David, I feel like they're painting him as the big bad, but he's not going to be as the big bad as, you know, what they're sort of trying to portray. So I stuck with Nathan. I mean, yeah, I guess that was like the final choice, but like, what did you guys get then if she didn't die in your gameplay?
You still have to blame somebody, but I don't know how it differs.
Wells is thankful that you were able to talk her down.
Yeah.
But that's another reason I hate Wells. Everything he does, he finds out a way to make it, the image for Blackwell. It's not about the people, it's about his reputation, which is just why he's a pretty lame character. But yeah, like, you still have to blame someone, like you mentioned, Anya, but he still finds a way of potentially suspending you. I think he says, like, oh, why were you on the roof? Why were you up there? And you can't exactly mention, oh, well, time travel. So you have to blame someone. And I know I blamed Nathan as well, and my school of thought being was that, especially on a blind playthrough, I know that David's like the security man. Like he is a viable choice in a way, but I didn't want to do that. With Mr. Jefferson, well, obviously, yeah, if you know the game, he's an avenue, but you just don't have any evidence. It just seems dumb to pick him at this point. So I went Nathan because it's like, yeah, waving a gun in the bathroom. But then the whole thing comes back to bite you because, especially in my case, I told Wells earlier I hid the truth from him. He's like, yeah, well, when I asked you earlier, you said nothing happened. And then David puts oil on the fire by saying, oh yeah, she's got pot on her as well, she smokes pot. And I was like, oh god damn it. So like stepping in twice in that case really bit me, and then it led to me being suspended. So yeah, I don't know if that jogs your memory at all, but that's what happened in my one.
Okay. No, yeah. I remember like I was torn between for who to put the blame on. Like I was thinking between Nathan and David. Because at this point, Mr. Jefferson hasn't really done anything. He's just a guy, whatever. But then Nathan has already like proven to be, resident asshole of the students and got a huge standing. And I had reported him, like, I didn't hide the truth at the beginning. I was like, he has a gun. So then that leads to Nathan being suspended. And because I was hiding from David, then like he didn't have anything on me for giving drugs to Chloe or whatever. But I was mostly thinking of like going after David just because he has been also an asshole, but I didn't know how it would affect Chloe, and I didn't want it to like somehow end up like on her, like, oh, he's on a suspension and now he's just around the house being even more of a dickhole to her. So
I was gonna say I didn't want to blame David as well, because it's like, imagine hanging out with Chloe later and then it's like you've got him fired maybe, and then you just have to like look at him, have dinner with him, like, you right, mate? I was like,
oh well, that is all the notes that I've got for episode 2. I'm pretty sure, don't we have like a little outro scene again, like we did in episode 1, if I'm remembering right?
Yeah, like we always get a different like weather phenomenon, and this one's that there's an eclipse, and I think Warren's with you, and then you get, in my opinion, one of the most underrated songs of the game in Local Natives Mount Washington is you get another outro with all like the players. You've got Mr. Jefferson at one point, you've got like Nathan and Victoria, Joyce, and I just thought it was really well done again, and I just really buy into these outro scenes as always. I'm just such a big fan of it.
You know what? One's come to mind as well. I think it's Principal Wells. It's like dark and he's like talking to someone in the car. I'm just thinking, like, I don't know if that was like meant to look shady, like that he's up to something. But again, like it's. I'm on the one hand, I'm glad that I can't remember my blind playthrough. Because obviously going forward we'll like see these things. But yeah, I saw that and I was like, what's he up to? Like, is he sort of like mixed up in all of this? But unless you've got anything else to add, guys, we'll wrap up there.
I just want to point out, I don't know if we mentioned it when we were talking about the end of the last one, but there was like the folder with Rachel's name on it. And now like this one ends with the photo or folder with Kate's name and photos of her.
No, of course, it's really dark, and it that something bigger is at stake, and you always get this theme of Max sort of saying, yeah, there's something really dark going on here at Blackwell. And yeah, then you get these constant outros with like, these photos happening, and then these folders of all these different people's names, and then Rachel gets added onto the pile, and it's just like, it's just super dark. And am I right in thinking, I'll edit this out if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it ends with the photo with Kate's name?
Yeah.
Yeah, because the last one ended with Rachel.
Yeah, that's it.
This one ended with Kate.
So, yeah, it makes you think, yeah, well, Kate definitely was drugged at this party, and now she's clearly, like, been a part of something really dark, and it just makes you feel for the characters even more, and you just know that there's something dark going at Blackwell, and it just does a really good job of like building that mystery. And the pacing, it's not too fast, but I don't think it's too slow either. It gives you these breadcrumbs at the end of the episode, and obviously if you played it back in 2015, you're there waiting for 3 months pondering on what's going on, and it was just so suspenseful and so well done.
Yeah, and because it adds like a Rachel crumb as well, because we still don't know anything that's happened to her. She's still just missing, and we had no context to the folder. But now, like, this one has photos with Kate, so it's like, oh. So then what's going on with Rachel? What went on with Rachel? And it's like a little bit of a hint to what happened to her.
Very, very shady indeed. I mean, we'll wrap it up there, shall we? I mean, obviously that's been Life is Strange episode 2 Out of Time. I forgot to mention at the end of the last video, but if you do want to go and look at Liam's gameplay of this series of Life is Strange, then do go into the description box and click the link.
Thank you very much, guys. We'll see you in the next one.
See ya.
Bye-bye.